Namaste everyone and welcome to my channel Sapna's Yoga Diary. So this is in continuation of the previous video. So in the last video I told you that I'm going to make videos on how you can prepare for YCB Yoga Teacher and Evaluator test. So in this video I'm going to cover the practical part, that how you can prepare for the practicals of YCB Yoga Teacher and Evaluator exam. And this video is purely based on what I have experienced in my practical exam. So yeah, without any delay, let's get into the video. So my YCB exam was with Moderate Services Private Limited. In case you have registered with the same center, in that case it is going to be very helpful for you, this video. But even if you have not registered with Moderate Services Private Limited, you have registered with some other center, even then it is going to be useful, because I'm hoping that the basic structure of the test will still be same. If you look at the syllabus of the exam, the first thing is prayer. And in the practical test also, they will ask you to start with prayer. So they will tell you, they'll ask you to pray. Good thing is they are not asking you to chant any specific prayer like Gayatri Mantra or Shanti Mantra. It is up to you. They are leaving it up to you. They are asking you to just start the prayer. So whichever prayer you are comfortable with, you can start with that. You can chant that prayer. I use Shanti Mantra. Another student, he chanted Gayatri Mantra. So whichever chant you generally use in your classroom, you can use the same prayer. One thing which I wanted to tell you is, it is a prayer, so it should sound like a prayer. You should not just mug up the mantra and just speak it aloud. It should sound like a prayer. One of the student, what she did, she was just chanting very fast, like Om Bhurbhuva Swaha. So it sounded that it looked like that she had just mugged up and she's just chanting. So the prayer should sound like a prayer. That is the thing. You can choose any one which you are comfortable with, but it should sound like a prayer. The second thing is Shat Karma. Second question will be on Shat Karma. They will ask you if you practice Shat Karma. So in the syllabus there are only 3 Shat Karmas. That's Sutra Niti, Sutra Niti, or the Jal Niti. There is Vaman Dhoti, and there is Kapal Bhati. So they will not ask you any particular Shat Karma. They will ask you what do you do in Shat Karma? Do you practice Shat Karma or not? So I wouldn't suggest you say no. Even if you do not practice the cleansing practices, Kapal Bhati everyone knows, right? So if you do not practice Sutra Niti or Jal Niti or Vaman Dhoti, at least Kapal Bhati you should mention. Do not lie. Do not just say that you do Sutra Niti, because they will ask you question. Like in my case, I told them that I practice Niti, I practice Sutra Niti and Jal Niti both. So the next question was, he asked me, what is the difficulty you face in Sutra Niti? What is the challenge you face while practicing Sutra Niti? And this you will only know if you generally practice Sutra Niti. So do not lie. Whatever you practice, you just have to say that. But yes, if you do not practice Shat Karma, at least Kapal Bhati, because a lot of people practice Kapal Bhati as pranayam, you should be thorough with Kapalbhati, because if you say Kapalbhati, they will ask you they might ask you what is contraindication of Kapalbhati, what are the types of Kapalbhati. So, just be prepared. So, they will not ask you all of the Shatkarma practices, but whichever Shatkarma you will say that I practice this, they will ask you questions related to that practice. For example, I told you that I said that I practice Neti, and they asked me what is the dimension of sutra that you use for the practice, what is the length. And when I said half is wax coated, half is loose threads, they asked me what kind of wax is used. And then they also asked me what is the challenge in Sutra Neti when you practice. If you say Jal Neti, I practice Jal Neti, they will ask you why salt is added in Jal Neti. So, you have to prepare these questions. So, whichever practice you specify, just have detailed information, detailed knowledge about that particular practice in Shatkarma. Now, moving on to the next topic, that is Yogic Sukshma Vyayam, Sthula Vyayam. So, they will ask you a few practices from Yogic Sukshma Vyayam, and one practice they will ask you. They asked us Injan Dod, and in Sukshma Vyayam, they asked us neck movements, they asked us trunk movements. So they will ask you a couple of movements from Yogic Sukshma Vyayam, and at least one movement will come from Sthula Vyayam. They will ask you to demonstrate. So that you have to do, that is completely from Yogic Sukshma Vyayam. You just have to go through it. There I have my videos on Yogic Sukshma Vyayam and Sthula Vyayam, and that will cover this Yogic Sukshma Vyayam and Sthula Vyayam part. Next is Surya Namaskar. Now, Surya Namaskar with mantras. So this they will definitely ask you Yogic Surya Namaskar. So they'll ask you to do one round of sun salutation. When you are doing sun salutation, do not practice it very fast. That would be my suggestion. Go not very slow, not very fast, but just sync your breath properly with the movement, and go slow, go easy. Every posture should be properly visible. In my previous video, I told you how to align your mat in Surya Namaskar so that every movement is clearly visible. So just follow that way. And regarding the mantras, they will ask you, to me, they asked me to chant first 5 mantras of Surya Namaskar. To somebody else, they asked last 5 mantras of Surya Namaskar. So you need to be thorough with Surya Namaskar and the mantras. Also, the meaning of mantras are important, because they might ask you what is the meaning of Om Savitre Namaha, what Om Hiranyagarbhaya Namaha, what is the meaning of it. So they may ask this also. So you need to remember sun salutation movements with the mantras and their meaning. Now, regarding sun salutation, there are many variations of sun salutation in yoga today. But when you are demonstrating, stick to the Hatha Yoga, the original Hatha Yoga sun salutation, which does not have the plank pose. A lot of practitioners, they have modified sun salutation and they have added the plank pose in sun salutation. But if you look at the traditional sun salutation, there is no plank pose there. So stick with the original sun salutation, Hatha Yoga sun salutation, as it is given in Asana Pranayama Mudra Bandh, and the same has been given in the QCI guide also. You can refer this. This guide has been prepared by the experts who are there in the team. So I would highly recommend you buy a guide, and if there is any discrepancy, you have to follow what is written here. Okay, in sun salutation. You have to prepare the sun salutation which is given in their guide. Second thing, you have to mantras, meaning of mantras. The meaning of mantras are different in asan pranayama mudra bandh, and it is different here. Okay, so the questions that are going to come in the exam, because one question came in the theory also, what is the meaning of Om Savitre Namaha. So if you prepare the meaning by this book, this guide, this is going to be helpful, because the questions that they will ask you, you will find the answers if you have read the mantras, and if you have if you have actually prepared the meaning of mantras as per this book, the guide. The meaning of mantras as per asan pranayama mudra bandh, that's different for a few mantras. So it's always preferable, whenever there is a discrepancy, go with the guide or the recommendation of the experts who are going to examine you there. So yeah, so go with the guide on that part. That was regarding sun salutation with mantras. Next is Yogaasanas. They will ask you a few postures in the standing position to us. They asked us to do Vrikshasan, Vajrasan, Uttan Mandukasan, and what else? No, not Paschimottanasana. They asked us to do yes, Chakrasan, and I think Setubandha Asan. Yes, I think so. I forgot. Okay, so yeah, they will ask you around 5 to 6 postures from Yogaasan. From what they have given in the syllabus. So they'll ask you to demonstrate these postures, and when you demonstrate these posture, remember a few things. You don't have to hurry and get into the posture. When you are starting the posture and when you are ending the posture, there has to be grace. Okay, so go slow when you are demonstrating any particular pose. There has to be grace with which you get into the posture, and how you release the posture. Remember that. And remember, asan is described as sthiram sukham asanam, right? So that has to be seen in the posture, how you are doing it, how you are demonstrating it. Sthiram, your posture should be steady. It should appear comfortable when you are showing it. So remember this thing. Keep sthiram sukham asanam in your mind while demonstrating any posture, and do it with grace. Also regarding postures, it is very important, along with benefits, you need to remember the contraindications of the postures. Now when I say contraindications, you do not have to remember all the contraindications, because that is going to be a difficult task. But for each posture, you have to remember at least 2 to 3 contraindications, and the main contraindications you have to remember. For example, they asked me what is the contraindication for Tadasana. Okay, so when I was when I was preparing for Tadasana, so remember this thing. So when you are raising your arms above the head, any posture where you are raising your arm above the head, it is not recommended for the people who have high BP, okay, high blood pressure. So I knew this thing. So Tadasana, you're raising your arm above the head, not recommended for people who have high BP. Tadasana is the balancing posture, right? Balancing posture. So it will not be the balancing postures are generally not recommended for people who get giddiness, dizziness, vertigo, migraine issues. So remember these things. If you remember it in this manner, it is going to be very easy for you to remember the contraindications of each postures very easily. So yeah, so you need to remember the contraindications of the postures, and yes, different books will tell you different things when it comes to contraindications and in even the benefits. If something is contraindicated in a particular book, in other book you may see it in the benefit also. So there are a lot of discrepancies in this area also. So always play safe, go with the benefits and contraindication, which most of the books are agreeing. So I particularly when I was preparing, again I was sticking to this book because this is a guide right, that they've prepared. So the asanas which are mentioned in this book, read those asanas, read the contraindications and benefits as per this book. Okay, and then if something is not covered in this book, of course you can refer the other books like Asan Pranayama Mudra Bandh. Asan Pranayama Mudra Bandh I have specifically referred for asanas and mudras. So yeah, that is going to be helpful there. But one thing is there, that in Asan Pranayama Mudra Bandh, Kapalbhati has been referred as pranayam practice. Do not mention this as pranayam in your practical class. Kapalbhati is considered as Shatkarma practice in Hatha Yoga. So the moment you will mention Kapalbhati as pranayam, they will ask you, is Kapalbhati a pranayam or Shatkarma? So always categorize it in Shatkarma, not pranayam practice. I have a separate video on this, that why Kapalbhati is considered as Shatkarma, not pranayam. If you want, you can refer that video. That will give you a clarity. Okay, so after Yogaasanas, in Yogaasanas, they'll just ask the demonstration, ask you to demonstrate and ask few benefits and contraindications. That's all. After that, preparatory breathing practices. To me, they asked me what is yogic breathing. So this part you need to remember that you should be able to demonstrate. I demonstrated the total that is yogic deep breathing. It's very easy, it's not difficult. So in abdominal breathing you breathe through your belly, in thoracic breathing you breathe through your chest, and in clavicular breathing you breathe through your collarbones. It's a shallow breathing. And in yogic deep breathing you engage everything together. The maximum expansion and relaxation of lungs happens in the full yogic breath. So this is this they ask me, so they may ask you also. In pranayama practices, what they generally do, they ask you, like how they ask in Shatkarma, that what are the pranayama practices that you are teach or you practice. This is a very good way of taking a practical exam, because everyone knows that you will not practice everything, right? So you should be answerable for what you practice and what you teach, correct? So I really appreciate this way that they are asking you, what do you practice, what do you teach, and then they are raising questions. So in pranayam also they asked that what pranayam practices you are teaching or you are personally practicing. So I said Ujjayi breath and Ujjayi breath, Anulom Vilom, Brahmari. They asked me the question on Ujjayi breath, that okay, on Ujjayi breathing, which part of the body is engaged actively, and what is the meaning of Ujjayi. So whichever practice you will mention that this is what I practice, this is what I teach, they will raise questions related to that particular practice. After pranayam, there is this bandha and mudra. So there are 3 bandhas, right, in the syllabus: Jalandhar bandh, Udyan bandh, and Mool bandh. So they asked me what is Udyan bandh. They asked me if I practice Udyan Bandh, and I said yes. And then they asked me, what do you do in Udyan Bandh? They will not ask for demonstration, because Udyan Bandh you should generally practice in the morning or empty stomach. So these things they will not ask to demonstrate, but they ask questions related to the practice. Like to me, they ask that, oh, how do you do Udyan Bandh? Udyan Bandh happens in exhalation retention state, and so they asked me whether you pull it upward or inward. So in Udyan Bandh, the belly is pulled inward, and in root lock, you pull the perineum upward. Remember this. I mean, if you practice, you would know these things. But yeah, so whatever you practice, they will ask you accordingly. So that was Udyan Bandh. Regarding Mudra, they generally ask Yoga Mudra. So Yoga Mudra is there in the syllabus, and Yoga Mudra, you can read it in Asana Pranayama Mudra Bandh. It's there. To me, they also ask Mahamudra. Regarding Yoga Mudra, they asked me what is the contraindication of Yoga Mudra. So in Yoga Mudra, basically you bend your upper body forward, right? You sit in Padmasana, you take your arms back, you hold your wrist, and you bend forward. So they asked me what is the contraindication of Yoga Mudrasana, who should not be practicing Yoga Mudrasana. First they asked this question to somebody else, and then they asked it to me. So in Yoga Mudrasana, you are bending forward, and if you have been teaching yoga, you would know this thing, that people who have back issues, back pain, should not be bending forward. So this was so always remember it this way. So whichever posture requires you to bend forward, and somebody asks, if the examiner asks you to mention the contraindication of that posture, the straightaway contraindication is the one who has back issue should not be bending forward. That's why people who have a weak back, sciatica, slip disc, they should not be practicing Yoga Mudrasana at all. After Yoga Mudrasana, they also asked me if I know Mahamudra. Again, see, they also knew that Mahamudra is not something that everyone would practice. They knew I also probably won't be practicing Mahamudra. So they just asked me if you are familiar with Mahamudra. I said yes, and they asked me what is the mudra that you use for your eyes in Mahamudra. So for eyes you use Shambhavi Mudra in Mahamudra. So you just need to be familiar with with the mudras that are given in the syllabus. They may just ask you, they may just ask you to check whether you really know about it or you're just saying like that. So yeah, that's about mudra. Practices related to dhyan. So again, like other practices, they asked whether I practice meditation or not. First thing they will ask if you are practicing meditation. If you say yes, they will ask you which meditation you practice. So I practice Vipassana, and Vipassana is not in the syllabus. So they said that they will not be asking questions related to Vipassana. But then they asked me if I have ever practiced any other form of meditation. So I said that I have practiced mantra meditation. Which mantra? Then they will ask you which mantra. So I said Om chanting, meditation on Om, meditation on Soham. They then asked that what is the term that is given in the syllabus for Om chanting. Okay, what is so if you look at the syllabus, it's pranav. So pranav jap. So this can be asked, what is the other name of Om chanting. So remember this thing. Everything that is there in the syllabus, you need to be familiar with it. Doesn't matter whether you practice it or not, but you need to be familiar with it. Now, the last thing is methods of teaching and evaluation. You don't have to spend too much time reading about it. This is more about what you experience, what you how you teach. To me, they ask if I prepare a lesson plan for my classes. Well, everyone would be preparing the lesson plan because it is very important part. What is the importance of lesson plan? If you have a lesson plan, you would know what you are going to teach in the class. You will feel prepared, you will feel more confident, you will have a good command on the classroom, and the timing will be managed properly. You know how much time to devote in which section. But if you do not have the lesson plan, what will happen? So they ask, what happens if you do not have a lesson plan? How it is going to impact the class? So the first impact will be obvious, that you will not be as confident as you will be with your lesson plan. Second thing, it is going to impact the timing of, it may impact the timing of the class, because in lesson plan you would know that I'm going to teach this, I'm going to devote this much of time in this part, right? But if you do not have a plan in hand, it may going to impact the timeline of the class. It impact your confidence, it may impact the experience of the student. And yes, it is going to impact on, if you see, more or less everything. Every aspect of the class gets impacted if you do not have a lesson plan. So the last section is basically you will be able to speak, because they are related with the experience of the teaching. So devote less time in learning learning it theoretically. If you are a teacher, you would know these things. So yeah, that's about the practical part of it. If you have any particular question, you can put it in the comment section. But I have covered all the sections. Yeah, I've covered all the sections properly. Just remember, you have to, when you are giving any answers to the examiner, you have to, you are a teacher, you are already a yoga teacher, right? So you have to sound very confident and at the same time relaxed. So yeah, and you're going to do it well. So yeah, that's all about my experience and the important things that I wanted to share related to the practical exam. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you like this video, do give me a thumbs up, and if you have not subscribed to the channel, please do. Take care. Bye bye. Namaste.